evening. What an evening it is. Once again, I'm Elizabeth Bustos. I am the Director of Community Engagement for Be There San Diego. Here in my community, I have the privilege of being the project director for the Southeastern San Diego Cardiac Disparities Project. And we're all about eliminating heart attacks and strokes. Not, as we've been saying earlier, not a little bit, almost eliminating heart attacks and strokes, kind of sort of getting there, but not a line on the sand, more like a line on the concrete that's immovable, where we will eliminate heart attacks and strokes. So here I am in Southeastern San Diego. I've been really here since 1977, followed my best girlfriend, Lorraine Nelson, to Lincoln High School from San Diego High School. One of the most diverse communities in the region. So here I am, seeing the demographic shifts, African American, Latino, Caucasian, to and fro. Here I am being a Latina, leading one of the most beautiful movements that I have seen here in this community. It's this Heart Health Project, also known as the SD Heart Justice Movement. We're talking about saving lives. We're talking about having conversations where, yes, we talk about the importance of knowing your numbers, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your A1Cs, but we also talk about how we got here, how our community got as sick as it did. Did not happen overnight. So I guarantee you, every time Reverend Brown and I come out, every time we have conversations with our pastors, and so many of you are in the house, thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We take time, a very important time, to have a history lesson of how we got here. Because so many of us choose to ignore history, choose to inform ourselves of history, or know the history and choose not to tell the truth. So here we are. This is what we know. 44% of African American men have some form of cardiovascular disease. 48% of our beautiful African American women have cardiovascular disease. Half, you may as well say half, of African Americans in this country are on that horrible journey. How did it happen? You have known this all along for many years. And this is where we are. So I too, along with Reverend Brown and everybody here at this table, and I know many of you here, came here for action. In this community, I'm also a citizen of the world, and this is what I've come to understand all too painfully. Actually, affirmations every day is that as a society guided, thank you, Greg, for putting it out there, absolutely white privilege, absolutely white supremacy at work. Okay. As a collective society, we have somehow decided, consciously or unconsciously, that it's okay for certain segments of us to be throwaways. Throwaways. We've made that choice. How do we get this? How do we get to this place? I do hope, it is my sincere hope, that the voice of Dr. Jones, the voice of everybody here at the table, I know I'm hearing everybody talk amongst yourselves, that it lasts more, what we're hearing, what we're learning, the challenges that are being called out, that for goodness sakes, it lasts more than from here to getting into our cars and go home, go to our children. Honey, baby, I went to the most interesting meeting. They talked about racism. They talked about this, and that's, there's a problem, and that's the last we really think about it. And I know it will happen because it's been happening all along. It's a hard conversation to have. It's a scary conversation to have. I'm not going to ask anybody to raise your hand, but if you are a person of color, or maybe not so a person of color, okay, and you have these ideas, these thoughts about racism, if you're a policymaker, if you're a manager, if you're in any kind of decision-making position, and you go to your superiors, or even think about going to the big man to start a conversation, to start a dialogue, raise your hand or think about whether or not you're fearing for your job.
True.
Seriously. This guy's saying not him. I want your job. Really, because it is just so difficult, incredibly difficult to have this conversation, but the challenge is really to create an overused phrase, but here I go, safe spaces to have these conversations. And this is what brought me to this table here. Because Multicultural Health Foundation, Be There San Diego, UAMIC, Reverend Brown and I, you and I have this conversation 24/7, and we purposefully set the table to have these courageous conversations, and it's scary. It is scary stuff. Yes, it's true. This conversation here, as incredible as it may seem to some of us, some folks are trying to shut it down. Folks were trying to shut it down because, whoops, community isn't ready for it. Nobody wants to go there. It's a waste of time. There's nothing going to be shut down here. Nothing. If not now, when? Thank you. If not now, when? I figured out that for me, at this moment in time, I challenged myself to be strategically pissed off. Strategically pissed off. Because I have every right to be pissed off. I have every right to be angry. I have every right, just like many of you here, many of us here, have every right to be angry, and nobody validates us. Nobody validates us. So why am I here? To have a conversation with you, everybody here. And talk about having a plan, taking action, having the hard conversations. I'm trying to figure out, I spent the last 4 years trying to figure out a nice way to explain to my dearest Caucasian white friends about white privilege. I need mentoring in that. Because it's a partnership. It is really a partnership. How do I bring those voices to the table and at the same time temper my anger? Challenge each and every one of you, and I'm going to say something else. There is a handful of people in this room, okay, whom, to say it politely, I have nearly come toe-to-toe with over this conversation of racism. Because while you were trying to help me, while you were trying to help my community, you did the unthinkable. You used terms, you described me, you described my own, you described my community as those people. They don't know what they want. They're always angry. And the scariest part for me was that they were policymakers, funders, lawmakers. If that doesn't keep you up at night, it should. And I challenge all of you to accompany me and be strategically pissed off. Thank you.